Get ready to get sticky. Sticky Situations is sponsored by Corona Crush. Corona Crush is creating Jewish couples always. Join the Facebook group. Just search Corona Crush and look out for virtual speed dating events happening every other week. They're 100% free and 100% Jewish. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Sticky Situations. I'm your host, Rachel, which obviously you already know because I'm unforgettable. Everyone, right now, go like Sticky Situations page on Facebook. I actually don't know if the Facebook page exists anymore, so maybe I should stop putting that in. I think I got a message from Facebook. I don't know if it was a scam that they're taking down my page, but I don't really even use it, so I don't know why I have it. Some people like Facebook, but if you want to see my posts, just make sure you're in the Corona Crush group and look out for my posts when the episodes come out. So maybe I'll stop with the Facebook. Go follow Sticky Situations page on Instagram. Follow Sticky Situations Pod on TikTok. The Instagram is also Sticky Situations Pod. The TikToks, sometimes I'm good about doing them, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I get inspiration and I'm like, let's make TikToks. Making TikToks is hard though. I'm just gonna say that for anybody who hasn't tried making TikToks, it's hard. If you would like to be a guest on my podcast, you can either fill out, there's an application in all my Corona Crush posts, or you, probably also on the Instagram page, there it's somewhere, but you can also just send me a DM on Instagram at Sticky Situations Pod, or send me an email at stickysituationspod@gmail.com. Same goes for if you would like to date any of my single guests. I'm always here to try to help make it happen. We are a dating podcast and we love connecting the Jewish dating world. So if you hear someone that you might think you might vibe with, send me a message. I'll try to hook it up for you guys. And I'm just plugging again. Come be a guest on the podcast. I want to hear from you. I plug this every episode. Any background, any gender, any location, any age, any marital status. Like, I don't care if you've been married for 30 years. Like, come tell me your stories from back in your dating dates. Um, I don't care your sexuality. Come talk about it. Your religious denomination. I'll 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 talk to anyone, whether you're reform or yeshivish. Like, come talk to me about it. But yeah, so that's another plug. Come be a guest on the podcast. Send me a DM, Sticky Situations Pod on Instagram or stickysituationspod@gmail.com. Okay, so I have an extra special guest today, so we're just gonna get right into it. Everyone, please welcome my friend Sarah. Sarah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor and a privilege. I know we've been trying to make this happen for a while, and I'm so glad it happened.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you're here. Yeah, Sarah and I have this episode has been a discussion for months, and I'm happy that we're like finally making it happen. So I feel like I say that about a lot of my guests. Like, I promise I only a little bit harass people that I know. Like, if somebody expresses an interest, I'll mention it every single time I see them. Like, I'm not gonna lie about that. But like, I'm only a little pushy.
Yeah, and
Sarah could disagree.
yeah. No, I think it's also like have busy schedules and
Mhm.
it's hard to coordinate, but I'm glad that we made it happen.
Yeah, for sure. And I will keep being persistent with anyone else who said that they want to come on. So just letting you guys know, if you tell me you want to come on, I will be persistent to a certain degree. I take breaks at it though, because I'm busy too. But okay, so Sarah, before we get into your stories and hot takes and everything, can you just tell me and my listeners some basic things about yourself, your age, location, relationship status, and religious denomination?
Sure, no problem. So I'm 25. I live on the Upper West Side. I'm single and I'm modern Orthodox Jewish.
Okay, cool. So it's just like give everyone a reference of like who you're dating, your dating pool. Okay, so should we jump right in with a story to start?
Ooh, a story right away. Well,
Yeah,
I think I have an interesting take that we could talk about, like a discussion question, sort of, but it
sure.
includes a story. So we could do it
Okay.
like that. This is an old story, actually, but um, just like I feel like we've spoken about this before at meals and stuff about like texting and dating. I feel
Hmm.
like it's a really interesting topic, and the tagline I always use is that texting is the facade of emotional intimacy, and that
Yeah,
it
I say something similar.
and how like it's hard to well we'll dive into that. But first, the first question is, what do you think about texting someone before a first date? Like having a texting rapport with them before you go on a date. In the case where, let's say it's, I mean, I guess on Hinge, you're already going to probably have a texting rapport, but if you're set up or if like a friend gets, you exchange numbers with someone that you met at a party, right? Like, what do you think of texting before the actual date?
Okay, so obviously on a dating app, I need like a little bit of something to like get me
Right.
a little bit interested. If I've never met you in person, I don't have people to actually like vouch for you who know you. Because listen, I'm a good texter and I love banter. So
Same.
I, on a dating app, like get me hooked a little bit, but also if it's not on a date, but I don't want to text for that long. Also, if it's
Yeah.
not on a dating app, I don't even know if I need that texting game because I
Yeah,
agree with you. I think texting provides a false sense of intimacy and it's like I think texting can really enhance a relationship that's already progressing outside of your phone,
for sure.
but I just don't think it's healthy or like good or real to like start this whole texting relationship that just takes place in your phone if there's no if there's nothing else. So like for me, I would rather someone say, "Let's have a call and
Hmm.
get on the phone." Um and I hate talking on the phone, but I think that gives me a better sense of whether I'm going to like this person who I've never met before when we do meet. So,
Yeah.
if like let's say you think of a guy that you want to set me up with. So, we're mutually interested. You give him my phone number. I would be better off like or I would be happier if he just texted me like, "Oh, hey, Rachel, when's a good time that we could have like a quick call?" And
Right.
like not even
That's
text at all.
yeah, that's fine. And that's the point that's another point that I was going to also bring up, but I think I like this. I know the viewers can't see this, but I'm holding my little pen and I'm like as if I'm like conducting an orchestra over here. But just a little fidget toy. I think it's also interesting because, right, like in the more from setup-y world, but not even, and I think it's filtered down even to like the less, like, I guess, like YU kind of world of just like having a phone call to like set up the date and then like going on the date. I don't really know why it's a thing. I don't know why it's like a from thing even too, but it's like part of the, I guess, the way the setup world kind of goes is that like, oh,
Yeah.
before you go on a date, you have a phone call and then you go on the date. So this was like one of my first ever dating stories, and I learned a lot from this. So, and this it's all connected, I promise. Let's get into it. So, a friend set me up with someone, and he started texting me. And since I was like earlier on in the process, I just thought there are like certain rules when it comes to dating that like when someone gets your number, just the point you just said, they text you, "Hey Rachel, nice to meet you," and then like let's set up a time for a phone call to plan the date. Or even I've also been in situations where there's not even a phone call and just like, "Hey, want to meet at this place at that time," and like very chill. This guy did not really understand the assignment and he was just like texting me for like a bit and he would send me his Wordle score every day and honestly that
Oh,
was a
I don't
little
like
bit
that.
weird. That was kind of weird. Like I don't know you and you're sending me these things. But I think what was interesting, right, is and then eventually I was saying to the friends who set it up, I'm like, "Hey, do you want to like say like I mean I myself probably could have said something, but like I was already kind of getting the ick at that point. I'm like, he hasn't really like scheduled a date. Like what's going on here? But that's why like the emotional intimacy thing, I think that's like a thing to think about in terms of like once you're already dating, right? That's like,
Hmm.
or if you're like in a situationship, which I know means different things to different people, or like if there's a guy you're interested in, you're texting all the time, like when's someone gonna make a move, right? Like that's where the questions about like the emotional aspect of a relationship come in. But when it comes to the quote unquote like dating rules, right? Like to you there's a stranger who a friend has graciously set you up with, or maybe you met at a party, maybe you met on Hinge, however it is, and they're just like kind of texting you and like don't really have a plan in mind, and then eventually they do. And this is also I I don't know. This is not the first time this has happened. I mean, this is the first time that the story is the first time it happened to me, but this is not the only time it has happened to me. And what's interesting is we eventually had the phone call, and this is like the paradigm example of like weird pre-date, like not a good idea situation. And then he set a time for the call, and then he actually didn't set a time for the call. He's like, "Yeah, I'll call you tonight." I was like, I'm
No,
like
I
a
don't like
busy
that.
person. I have things to do. Like, let's maybe set a time, whatever. And he's like, yeah, around this time. And I was like,
No.
oh my God. And I was
Immediately
like,
no.
immediate. This is after a week of getting his Wordle score. It's like, if you could send me your Wordle score every morning, you could send me what
Yeah,
time you're free
that
tonight.
means that
Oh
means like
my
you know
God.
he does something at a certain time every day, like
Yeah, like maybe just call me when you're doing your Wordle. I don't know. But anyway, I won't give more. I'll keep the story a little bit more vague. But there was a lot of other issues. I did end up going on the date, but that itself
oh
was very
wow.
weird. But anyway, but back to this. So the phone call, and again, this was like very early on for me. So like I was still kind of new to this, especially this was early on in like the setup world for me. So like I like hadn't really had that much experience like being set up before, so I wasn't really sure what the norms are. And then we had a phone call, and it ends up being like over an hour, like maybe 2 hours. And like I remember saying this to someone the next day, someone who I knew who's like a little more like someone who was married at the time, and she's like, "Oh my God, Sarah, you just wasted all this time on a boy. Never let those phone calls go longer than 5 minutes. Like you just wasted your time." And okay, so here's like kind of that thing, right? Like where it felt like, and then we ended up not going on a date until I don't know, I guess the next week. So you have like a full week of Wordle scores plus a 2 hour long phone call. It felt like I was already dating this boy at that point. You know what I mean? We haven't even gone on
Yeah.
a date yet. So it's like, okay, maybe I didn't feel like we were dating, but it felt like you already have established something. And that's where the question becomes, right? Like, is it worth having these like long texting conversations or even the long phone calls? Because texting and phone calls are different. But if it's the
Hmm.
phone call to set up the date, then like that's, maybe you shouldn't keep it so long. But then my biggest lesson, I think, from all of this, in general, throughout my dating life, which has not been super long or super eventful, I know I'm selling myself short of it, but whatever, is that, and this is what I say to all people when they first start dating or when they're struggling, whatever it is, the number one rule about dating is that there are no rules about dating. And
Yes.
that at the end of the day, like, yes, maybe there are some social norms about like maybe you shouldn't have someone waste your time on a 3 hour phone call and only for the date to be like really schwach and really like not interesting. And then, or maybe you shouldn't be texting this person, developing like thoughts, like hyping them up in your head or them hyping you up in their head before the date. But at the end of the day, like, if it works for some people, I'm sure there's plenty of stories of people who like fell in love on their first phone call before the date. Like I'm sure.
Mhm.
So it's hard to make like hard and fast rules about what to do, what not to do, and it's good to get advice. But at the end of the day, like what works for one person might not work for another person. And yeah, that was my little spiel.
No, I completely agree. I do think there are some social norms, like don't text a girl for a week with your Wordle score and not like try to plan a date. Like I hate that. I
It's
actually
weird.
had a guy, I got a guy, this is back when I still had YU Connects. I got
Oh
a guy
well.
on YU Connects and I like didn't even really want to accept. I think every single guy I accepted on YU Connects, I didn't even want to accept. I was just like, ugh,
Mm,
he's
real.
he seems like okay enough even though like he wasn't fine at all. So I accept this
Oh
guy.
well.
Like I think we had a couple mutual friends, and my friend was like, "Oh yeah, I don't know, I don't think it's a match, but like you could try." And I was like, "Okay, fine. He seems okay enough, so I will accept the match." And he just texted me for like I think it had been like almost 2 weeks, or no, maybe it had been a week. I don't know. I sometimes
Ay,
I'm
ay,
just
ay.
busy, and I don't notice when like the 2 weeks goes by. But then
Yeah, you
sometimes
don't want to
I
waste
just
that's kind of wasting your time a
yeah.
bit.
Yeah, but also sometimes I'm just like I get really annoyed and it's been like however long. So eventually I just sent him like a really like not nice message.
Oh my God,
I
I'm
was
dead.
yeah, but it was like it wasn't nice. It was something along the lines of like you're wasting my time. But this is a few years ago. I don't know.
No, I also
But
I've been kind of nasty
it
sometimes
was
when they
it
when
was
they're
just yeah.
Like I think when that was like a story from earlier on in my dating life, which again wasn't so long ago. But then like I've had more recent stories, relatively recent, not like yesterday, but like in the past, I guess, year or so of guys doing something similar where it's like a weird opening line where they're trying to like have really deep conversations over text.
Oh, I
And
don't
I'm
like
just like,
that.
I've never, I think it's interesting to have deep conversations over text if you've like already been dating someone or if like you're both interested. If this is a situation where you're both clearly interested in each other and like, you know what I mean? If there's already existing rapport, I think, or if it's after
Yeah.
a first or second date, then like I think there's a little bit more room for that and like fair game. But like the first text, this has happened on the apps, but it's also happened with like being set up with someone. And I'm just like, like, no, no, we're not doing this right now. And like, especially if I already said yes, similar to your situation of like, I don't really want to go out with this person, but I'm like saying yes anyway. And then and then they wouldn't set the date. So I've gotten more bold in my own life and more like taken the reins and have been like, okay, so like what time works for you this week? You know, right? Like
Yeah.
just because it's especially in the sun. If it was on Hinge or something, I think that'd be different because that's like nobody's asked anyone out yet. Like you're not really you never like agreed to go out, but like if someone set you up or if it's on Loop or Why You Connects or whatever, like you've already pretty much agreed that you're going out and you know that that's what's going to happen. So like you should feel women and men should feel empowered to just be like, okay, topless. Let's set a time and place because anybody got time for that. I don't have time to be dealing with these intense philosophical discussions with people that I frankly might never talk to again.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think anyone's tried to start an intense philosophical discussion with me that I haven't met yet. If they did, I probably would ghost them. Like, I'm not gonna lie about that. Like, I'm not one for intense philosophical discussions in general. Like, you have to catch me in a moment to get that. But like with some guy that I don't even know, like, no
Yeah.
thanks.
It's like that's like I love philosophy and I was like a philosophy minor in college and like I it's my life and I love getting into those conversations in general. But like your purpose right now is to schedule a time, not to like start, whatever. But I do think it's interesting because I've spoken to other friends about this and what they think. Not about like these guys in particular, but just this general idea about texting before dates and whatnot. And some people have pointed out that like, you know, it's ultimately like this is like the moment of like men's vulnerability showing out, right? Like the guy has a lot of pressure on him to like asks it's like you're asking someone out essentially, a person you've never met before and you've never spoken to them before, so you don't really know how to talk to them. And some of these guys probably don't really know how to talk to women in general, whether or not they grew up in co-ed or not co-ed environments. By the way, even the ones who grew up in co-ed environments still don't understand women, but it's okay, all of them, a lot of them.
Just a lot of them.
Just a lot of them. But it's like it's you got to give them a little bit of grace, right? But like to what extent do you give grace to guys? And maybe this is a good
I
transition
don't.
topic. Yeah, like to what extent do you give grace to a guy? Maybe he's new to dating or whatever and like for what is it? Fumbling the ball, I guess. That's the right word that people use. I don't know. I'm like sort of into sports. Not like fully into sports, but I like try to use metaphors, but like I end up totally messing them up. Um, this is another interesting one, and I don't want this to come off as I'm just like complaining about dating. I just have like stories that are just not super enjoyable. But
No, I mean, we all do.
no, it's true. And I think it's also good to like have these discussions and that like we also as women are not perfect. Yeah, like maybe I'm an
Yeah.
asshole sometimes over text and like that's also not really acceptable, even if they deserve it. Like I could be the bigger person and I could just not like be rude.
No, but
But
sometimes it's so satisfying. Like,
it
if you have a
is.
bad day and there's like some boy you could tell off from a dating app. I actually did that this past week. I was like pissed at something. Like I had sorry for the interruption, but
No, we love
but
it.
I'll just tell you, like, it wasn't even that bad. I had been texting this guy from like J Swipe and he just like was not doing anything. And the only reason I kept texting him was number one, I was bored. Number
Hmm.
two, he told me he has a pool. And I'm like, okay, I'm
Oh,
already thinking ahead for
oh,
summer. I'm like, I don't
yeah.
really want to
You
date
gotta
him.
play the
Like,
long game, Rachel. You gotta
I'm
play the
playing the
long game.
long game. And like, even if we met and we just stayed friends, like, I just want pool access in the summer.
Slide.
Like, I just want a pool, you know? So I was playing the long game and I'm like, okay, I wasn't even that into him. Like we barely talked. We were just texting. And he like asked me a question. I was like, you're gonna have to ask me that in person, like when you asked me on a date. And he was like, he just like would not plan anything. And I was like, he was like, "Oh yeah, I would love to take you out. We just have to plan it." I'm like, "Bro, you gotta ask."
Just
But I was
yeah.
like, yeah, I was like, also he's 35. I'm like, what are
Oh, oh
you doing?
no. Oh no.
Um,
Um,
yeah, and
but
so I was like, yeah, maybe a phone call first, and he's like, oh, tonight, and I'm like, not tonight. I was like doing something else, and I was like, maybe the next night, and then he like never. I wanted him to like kind of pursue it a little bit, so then I texted him, and I was like, hey, haven't heard from you,
I love that.
I don't know, I just like said something bitchy, and I'm like, whatever, I don't care. I want the pool, but not this bad. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
and
need
so
some
yeah,
35-year-old.
I think yeah, exactly. It's to the point of like when it's these guys that we're like vaguely interested or not even interested in, it's like there's low it's like a low cost endeavor in terms of like you're not really risking so much, but you're also not getting too invested anyway, so like it doesn't really hurt if it doesn't work out. But
Yeah.
so I was thinking of this story, and similar to also the ideas of like, do we give guys grace and gals for the male listeners here, and for like making mistakes in the dating world, especially when we've already established that in the dating world there are no rules. So this is a story of I'm going to try to keep it pretty vague. There was a situation where I was set up with someone who was younger than me, which already is interesting. And it was quite not such a crazy age difference, but it wasn't just like, oh, someone like a year younger than me, like different life stages. We were different life stages.
Yeah.
And so already I knew that there was this potential for like immaturity involved, and I had already kind of like expressed that to my friends, and they're like, Sarah, you're being too picky and just like give it a try. You never know, blah, blah, blah. I was like, fine, fine. I'll give this guy a little bit of grace. And just like some things from, whether it was scheduling the phone call, just certain things had already tipped me off that it was like, this person doesn't seem to be like at the same stage of life, but like, okay, Crusader, it's fine. I'll just suck it up, go on the date. It's fine. And then, long story short, it ended up being like literally like 10 minutes before the date, and he was like, I'm so sorry, but like the subways were too crazy today, and like I couldn't figure, and like I'm gonna miss the subway, or I'm gonna get there really late, and I know you wanted to like not end super late because I go to bed early because I wake up early. So like, no, you're not taking me out after like 9:30. I'm sorry, that's a little
Oh
ridiculous for a
no,
first
that's
date. For a
bedtime.
first date, even though the date would have been like close to where I live, like even so, like I'm sorry, like that's
No.
not no,
If
that's
you
not it.
can't
That's not
be
it.
to me before 8 o'clock, like I'm not going out
Yeah.
after 8 o'clock
So let's say so
to start.
in this scenario, it was, I guess, I don't know. He said he wouldn't be there till like 9 or 9:30, and I was like, yeah, that's like not worth it. But then in my head, I was like, oh my God, literally, I'm not going to say like where he lives or any information about him, but like he could have very easily taken an Uber and not paid more than like $20. And maybe, so I don't know, like if this person already wasn't going to pay so much for a first date for like a coffee or whatever, and then is also not going to pay for an Uber, maybe he was frazzled and like wasn't really thinking of like what to do. And look, before we continue to judge him, I will say that I was the one that offered to do a Zoom date instead, because like we both had crazy schedules, and like it won't be till another week, and I'm like, I just want to get this over with, like, and like it was fine enough. It was annoying because I was like ready and whatever, but fine, did a Zoom date. And then the next day he's like, hi, this experience made me realize that like I'm not ready to date again. And my first thought was, wait, date again? You were already dating? Oh no, oh no. We got some work to do. The weirdest part is
That's
that
so
like a month or
weird.
two later, and again, I feel like this is already too much information, but it's fine. It's vague enough. Like I think it was like 2 months later at this point, he like requested me on Loop. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm sorry. Like, why would
No,
I
I
want
hate that.
like if you go on a date with someone and it doesn't work out, if they want to be in your loop, so fine, like fine, like that's nice. I get people feeling weird about it, but like if it's a person that's normal and like it just did it work for you personally? Like, I don't see harm in that. But like, where do men get the audacity, right?
No.
Like literally, like, I'm sorry, you say you're not ready, and you literally also like kind of stood me up. Like, why do you think why would I want to set you up with people? Like, no offense. You seem like a great guy besides all these other things. And that's where the thing was. So the day after it happened, I was in the office and I was talking to my coworkers about it, and all of my female coworkers like, "Oh my God, this is crazy, blah blah blah." And then I had a male coworker who was like, "Okay, Sarah, it happened. It sucks. Now you gotta get over it." I was like, "Oh my God, excuse me. I'm allowed to be annoyed even though I wasn't
Yeah, you
interested in this person.
are.
I'm allowed to I got ready. I got, I mean, it takes a lot to like do things and
Yeah.
and like I just and maybe it's and again, I think part of it in terms of the like not paying for, and again, I don't really actually hold a grudge towards this person. Like this is I don't know this person really. Like this is not a big deal. But in the moment, it's frustrating, especially, and it's not about money even, right? It just like there's so many alternatives to like get from one place to another in New York City. And it's like you could have very easily done another
Yeah, you have to
option.
plan
Yeah. And it
also.
just like it felt like this person didn't really put so much thought
I think
and
that's what bothers
yeah.
me like the most about these things. It's like I feel like if I know I have a date or I know I have a plan to do something, like I put thought into it. It's like, okay, this is my plan. This is what time I have to leave work. This is what time
Exactly.
I need to like get ready fast at home, or I need to bring all my stuff to the office, like do a quick makeup in the office, like I feel like I plan ahead. So when somebody
Yeah,
else
same.
has that, I just don't feel like I'm getting back what the effort I'm putting in.
Yeah, and like various friends had, and again, to me, this was just like a funny story. Not funny, it was annoying, but not the worst of all the stories in the world. Not the worst problem in the world. So with these kinds of dating stories, these are the ones I like to share with friends, even though I'm pretty private about other other things. Someone had said like, oh, got to give him the benefit of the doubt, like he was frazzled, and the
No.
other point of like maybe it's just his personality is like not being so, on time and scheduled like you are. And like that's something that you have to think about for your own dating life. Like, would you want to be with someone like that? And I think there's like two aspects. I think like it is fine for different personalities to complement each other. And I'm not always perfectly clean on time, etc., whatever. But I think that there's a difference between not being like a scheduled, timely person and not putting thought into something. Those are two different things. Like if it's part of your personality to not be a time on time person, then like you're going to put an effort when you know you have to, like for a date. You know you're going to, so you're going to spend extra time working on yourself for that. And if you're not, then like yeah, it's something
Yeah,
else.
I totally agree. And yeah, I don't believe in giving men the benefit of the doubt.
Like ever.
And I've talked about it. Yeah, I
Ooh.
mean, there are very few people I give benefit of the doubt to. I feel like you have to earn my trust for me to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Mm.
If it's just someone, like maybe if it's a first offense, if it's not in a dating situation, if it's a first
Yeah.
offense from someone, not in a dating situation, then maybe I'll be a little bit more lenient on my no benefit of the doubt policy. But in a dating situation, I think people should automatically be more aware of what they're
Yes.
doing
100%.
because also like I'm in this stage of my life where I'm only dating with intention and you could be at that stage in any age and I
Yeah.
expect the guys that I'm dating to also only be dating with intention and I think when you're intentional about something it's you put more thought into it. So and yeah, accidents do happen. So like
For sure.
if I'm talking to a guy or going out with a guy and something does happen, then okay, I can give him the benefit of the doubt in like certain scenarios.
Right. Like listen,
But
if the, the subway stopped working, something like that, like
yeah, okay, that is
okay,
fine. Just
but like
communicate
if
it.
you yeah, communicate it and like if you had more time, if you knew you had more time to figure it out and if there were viable alternatives and you chose not to go for them, then like that just being lazy.
Yeah. No, 100% agree. Yeah, so I don't really believe in the benefit of the doubt when it comes
Interesting.
to guys.
Do you think that, and I'm being devil's advocate here because we all know
Mhm.
I'm a super feminist. That doesn't mean I hate all men, to clarify for those listening. But like, do you find that you personally, and you don't have to answer this, I could answer for myself, I'm happy to. Do you find that you personally you actively don't give men the benefit of the doubt, but you do try to give women in your life more of the benefit of the doubt? Or you do think women are usually right in these kinds of situations?
I think I don't give people the benefit of the doubt
That's fair.
unless it's deserved. Like it's one thing if a complete stranger is okay. I'm gonna give like a really stupid example.
Okay.
So when I host Shabbat meals, I plan very early. I try to do my inviting on like Saturday night or Sunday.
Damn,
I
Saturday
also
night.
I have a very small apartment inside. Like I do host meals. I have a nice big balcony. So in the summertime I host meals on my
Ooh.
balcony. So that is I'm a little bit more chill about. I'm still not chill. I'm not a chill person at all. But inside I can only invite 6 people. So if
Hmm.
I can only invite 6 people, I want to have a full table. For me, it's not even worth it to host a meal if I can't have a full table. Like, then what am I doing? So when I invite people, I expect them to answer me. Like
Yeah,
if I'm texting someone on Sunday morning, I expect a yes or a no by Sunday night.
that's
Like,
fair. Yeah, it's a
and
lot of
that's
people I
like
feel like don't respond. It's like, are you waiting to get a
yeah.
better invite?
So,
Excuse you.
yeah, so I if somebody's not responding to me, I'm assuming that they're waiting to see like because I also don't believe in weighing like meal options. Like whoever invites me first, I'm gonna accept
You're
the invite.
going. Yeah.
Like I'm so happy that somebody thought of me to invite me.
Yeah.
Like I don't care if someone else invites me after. Like yes, I'm also really happy that they thought to invite me too, but like the person who invited me first invited me first.
For
So
sure.
I get really annoyed when other people aren't like that. It's like you should be honored to be invited to my meal. Like how dare you weigh your options? So if someone's not answering me, okay. So I guess my example is if I'm inviting someone for the first time and I don't know how they
Mm,
operate. They're not like a close friend of mine. It's just somebody who I've met who I want to invite them. I want to have new people at my meal. If
for
they
sure.
don't answer me, I'm assuming that they're waiting for a better invite.
Mm,
If I were to invite one of my close friends and they didn't answer me, I assume that they're not on their phone or something happened and that's why like I my mind doesn't automatically go to oh they're waiting for a better invite.
hmm.
So
Interesting. So you
I
do
don't know.
trust some people.
I trust the people who have earned my trust.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think for me, it there is this, I guess, general feeling in the world where it's like my friends can do my female friends can do no wrong and the boys of the world are all stupid and are always going to be in the wrong. It's I know that for a fact it's not, and I have many guy friends who I'm close with and who I know are great individuals and wouldn't pull this kind of nonsense that my friends and I have seen. But there is that general vibe, I feel like, in the singles world, and sometimes warranted, sometimes not. But I also have seen like, and I think I honestly like probably have internalized a lot of that over the years, but I think that there have also become situations I've noticed of female friends of mine acting really not okay in certain dating situations to the point where I'm like, I can't believe you're doing something so stupid that I have to defend a man right now. Like what? Like, you know what I mean? Like there's just like sometimes, and yeah, now we're kind of like off track, but it's fine. Sometimes like, girls could lead guys on and like knowingly
Oh,
lead guys on.
$100%.
And I say that and I say to them, I'm like, what are literally what are you doing? Like this guy is a friend of mine and like you're just like trailing him along. Like that's not really
It's not
so
nice.
nice. And they're like, oh well, I'm not actually interested. I'm like, hey, if you're not interested, they're like, oh, we're just friends, we're just friends. I'm like, if you're just friends, then like why are you doing this? Or, and this is a really common thing with men and women, I think. I think this is across the board. People dating when they know that they are not in the right place to date.
Yeah.
It is so, so common and it's so bad. Like friends like, "Hi, I'm having like a depressive episode today. I'm gonna go on a date later." I'm like, "Are you insane?" Like, yes, you clearly are. No, not to, stigmatize, but like you're going through something. Do not go on a date and don't push yourself, but it's this feeling of like, I guess maybe it's that existential dread that people are feeling of like, okay, I need to stop feeling lonely and find my person. So I'm going to push myself to go on a date and like start to try to solve one area of my life because the other area of my life, whatever it's mental health or it's job stuff or maturity stuff, growth, whatever, personal growth, family stuff, because that part's not full right now, I need to fill this other void with dating. But what these people fail to realize, and I'm guilty of it myself too. We've all done it.
Yeah, we've all
Nobody's
done
perfect.
it.
We've all gone on dates we should not have gone on. We've
Yes.
all scrolled through Loop, Hinge, whatever it is during times of crisis that we should not have. And like it's this feeling of like you feel like you're solving a part of yourself, but you don't but it's the conscious action of not realizing how intertwined the entirety of yourself is and how like your what's going on, whether it's especially if it's mental health, but if it's family stuff, it's this, that, whatever, you need to realize that like they're both intertwined. And for me, I've had a few interesting situations where there were external things going on in my life, family things, family health, friend health related things where I was like really, really not okay and I was really struggling mentally. And part of it is like the things people say is, well, you can't let like, grief or anxiety or all these things, you can't let it hold you back from the rest of your life. So go on that date, go do it. But like that kind of mentality is also very dangerous because then
Mhm.
you're pushing yourself to a place where you're not ready to do it yet. And I guess no one knows if they're ever ready. There's no such thing as ever fully being ready, but like there are times where you do have to try, and there are times where you gotta take a step back. And like the perfect example of this was a pretty bad situation happened in my life a few years ago. It was really, really difficult. They got an external factor, not like something with me. And I was really, really, really not doing well. And I remember talking to like a mentor of mine about it, about like, I like want to start dating and I want to be in the dating world. And this mentor said to me, like, you know what? Do once a week self check-ins. Every Sunday, ask yourself, am I ready? And if the answer is no, then you don't do it. You just check in with yourself. Doesn't have to be once a week, could be once every other week, once a month, but like my advice, my unsolicited advice to people going through tough times, and you're like not sure if you're ready to get back in there. This also could happen in terms of like, this is also probably really common when it comes to breakups too, right? Of like, have you
Yeah.
really moved on or not? And I think part of it is, and what I would advise people, not that they are going to listen to my advice, but it's pretty solid advice, if I do say so myself, is check in with yourself, like set time on your calendar, be 5 minutes, just be like, am I am I ready to go on a date this week? And you might not have any dates lined up. You might not even be like that itself is a privilege, right? Like that itself is definitely a privilege. But am I ready to be in that mindset? Am I ready to start like asking friends to set me up? Am I ready to start scrolling through the apps, etc.? Is you have to ask yourself that. And if you don't ask yourself and you just keep going, going, going and doing, then it could lead to really unhealthy decisions.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I've been there. I've been in it's actually interesting because I feel like in a lot of like really weird times in my life, I ended up in like weird dating situation, not weird dating situations, but even
Sticky
like
situations, some may
sticky
say.
situations. One was a really bad situation. I was
Oh.
fine, not like unsafe, but it was just like a really weird whatever. I was in like a crisis, like a quarter life crisis,
Yeah.
and I sought out unconventional help for my quarter life crisis along with conventional help. But one of my friends thought it would be beneficial for to take me somewhere unconventional, and
Oh.
that person ended up, I can't get into the
Yeah.
whole story, but whatever. That person ended up setting me up with someone,
Oh.
and that was just a really weird situation. And I'm just like, what am I even doing? And I had a total lapse in judgment in even dating him. Like, I think we went
Mm.
out on 3 dates, and like in the real world, it would not have gone past a phone call. Like, in my quarter life crisis state of like weird mental being, I was like, okay. And then like when I ended it, I was like on the up, like getting out of my, like I was doing what I needed to do to get myself out of my quarter life
Yeah.
crisis. It just like wasn't happening fast enough. And then over the course, I think we went on 3 days, but it was over the course of like maybe a little over a month, just because I was
Hmm.
traveling a little bit in between. And during that month, everything else in my life started like falling into place, which brought up my mental health. Like I was
Mm.
having like job problems. And I was like in the
Mm.
process of interviewing and everything. And in that time, I got my job offer. I accepted the offer. I quit my
Yay.
toxic job that I hated. Um,
Amazing.
and I broke up with him like
LOL.
right at the beginning of my week of fun employment. Like I had like a 1 week in between my jobs. So I was like, okay, Sunday break up with him and then I can enjoy my week. But yeah, no, that was like the weirdest place. I got it. I actually started a relationship like in a bad place also. Like I
Mm.
it was also the type, when you don't know, like you convince yourself that you're ready to date and you're like,
Mm.
fine. I had just gone through a breakup and I convinced myself that I was moving on and I was over it and I
You
was fine.
gaslit yourself.
I gaslit myself. I was like, you know what? I
Damn.
had such a good relationship and it's sad that it ended, but it ended for reasons. And he was a good guy. And now I'm ready to find the right person who's going to give me everything that this guy could not give me. And
Yeah.
I met a great guy. And it's funny because afterwards, we dated for a couple months. And afterwards, we actually reconnected, probably a year after we broke up. We didn't date again or anything. We're on friendly terms, but we connected after like a year, and I like apologized. I mean, he like was the first to apologize to me for like that he was not in a good place to date,
Oh
and
wow.
I also apologized. I
So it
was
looks
like,
like it worked out
yeah, it
well,
worked out
kind
how
of.
it's supposed to, and like,
Unfortunately.
yeah, but yeah, I think we all. I try to be better about that in other. Like if I'm in a bad place in life with anything else, like I'm not prioritizing dating, and it's a little bit different now, but it's good. And if you're in a bad place and you date someone and they're a really good person, you could really end up hurting them and
Yeah,
hurting
a
yourself
hundred
too.
percent.
And like, I'm so lucky that like the situation ended how it ended. And, but I think it could have ended a lot worse for as bad of a place that I was in that I didn't even realize until after it was
Mm,
over. Because I
yeah.
think sometimes you don't even realize, like, oh,
You
yeah, I'm
exactly.
not
You don't
good.
realize. No, 100%. And then it's like it just you realize and then you're like, "Oh my God, why did I even do that?" Like that was so dumb. But like at
Yeah.
the same time, we need to give I think, we're talking about giving guys grace, giving gals grace, but like the biggest lesson I've learned, not just dating, just about life in general, is giving yourself grace. Because we're human beings, we're gonna make mistakes, and that doesn't mean that you're, totally out of the woods and everything you do is perfect and that you have an excuse for everything. Like, no, sometimes you mess up and you do something wrong or you're not in the right place and you should just let yourself feel the feels and don't beat yourself up too hard. I think that's something that I've struggled with a lot over the years has been beating myself up too much about
Yeah.
various things. If other people can forgive you, then like you should be able to forgive you. And like the sense of like I was just looking at this. You know Brene Brown, she's like a psychologist.
I don't think so.
This book called Daring Greatly. She I think you'd like a lot of her stuff. I'll send you some of it. And basically, she talks about shame versus guilt and how shame or guilt is the idea that I did something wrong. And shame is the idea that I am wrong. Like I'm bad and something's wrong with me. Right. So, like, it's important to have guilt about certain things. Right. It's important to be like, geez, I really shouldn't have sent that text. I shouldn't have ended it like that. I shouldn't have said this thing to that guy. I shouldn't have, or whether it's work situations, I should have been more on top of my things. But to then be upset about it and then to apologize, right? And to move forward with and repair that relationship with that other person is important. But then in terms of the shame aspect, you need to not internalize. You need to accept the fact that yes, you make mistakes and yes, you could do something wrong, but not internalize that that means that you're automatically a bad person. And I feel like that happens a lot, especially for women. I've noticed this, that people internalize these things like, like nobody wants to date me, and oh my God, like everything, something's wrong with me, and all of these things that our society fills our brains with. But really, it's you're allowed to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. That doesn't mean you're still an awesome person.
Yeah. Also, I think it's important to point out that nobody remembers the things that you do or say more than you do.
Oh, true.
Like,
Yeah.
I could hyperfixate on like stupid things that I've said that nobody else remembers.
It reminds me of, and I'm sorry, this is all kind of like off topic about dating, but it's all connected. It's
No,
about
it's
the
all
human
connected.
experience. I think so. I was a total theater kid. And I remember when we were memorizing lines and when we were like going on stage and stuff, like a teacher way back when had said to us, if you mess up your line, the only person that's going to realize is you and your stage partner. Because the only person that knows the script is you and the other person who are practicing. So if you, I mean, listen, if you mess up, and people like notice that like you're stumbling onto your words, fine. But like if you say the wrong word or the wrong line, like nobody's going to notice. So it's about
Yeah.
like, we are our own biggest critics, and it's something that we all need to work on. And that's why I think it's so good, like, to shower your friends with love and affirmations and goodness. But there's also a downside to that when it comes to these things, especially with dating, because then I love my friends. They're just the best people ever. And because I think so highly of them, I don't think anyone's good enough for them. And then, any little mistake that their partner does, male or female, both male and female friends, depending on whoever they date, if someone messes up, I view that like kind of like what we were saying before, right? Like giving benefit of the doubt, or like and little red flags, little yellow flags. Like if it's something that was like a minor thing, if it happened to someone I don't know, then like okay, like it's just something to keep an eye on. But if you do that to one of my close friends, you're it's over for you. It's over. Like I have a recent example of a friend went on a date, and the guy commented on something related to her SNES level or something. And I know, so for those who cannot see, Rachel just
I just
made
made a
a
face.
crazy face, as she should. And I think that's honestly a red flag in general of like
Yeah.
a guy. I think that's actually an example of a perfect example of a red flag that doesn't matter if this is your close friend or not a close friend, like commenting on a woman's body and like her own level of SNES and like what they're trying to police what a woman wears is a very big red
Yeah.
flag.
I agree.
You're allowed to have preferences. Like everyone's allowed to have preferences of, oh, like it'd be nice if I marry someone who covers her hair or whatever. But like you can't you can't like tell a woman like to cover her knees and her sleep. Like, oh my God, like who do
Yeah.
you think you are? You're not the hallway monitor, the SNES monitor in high school. Like
Oh,
literally relax.
I have a funny tidbit after you're done with your story about
Yeah.
that.
So that's another example of like, and when this friend told me that story, I was like ready to do some redacted things to that man. I like, oh my God, how dare you? And like she felt kind of embarrassed about it and like, and she's like, but I did call him out on it and he apologized. I'm like, okay, but you deserve so much better. And yeah, that's an extreme example. But there are other examples of things that like guys and gals have done that I just think my friends deserve better of. And it's hard when you hold your own friends on such a pedestal because then you can't be as good of a sounding board for them. And vice
Yeah.
versa. Because then my own friends also, I surround myself with too many good people, Rachel. It's really a problem.
Yeah, I do too.
It's the best problem to have because then they're like, no,
Mhm.
like, stop. Like, you can do so much better, XYZ, whatever. I'm like, yeah, but like, hear me out. Like, nope, nope, over, conversation over, it's done. So then I don't want to talk to any of them about anything because they're just gonna be,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. So it was I was outraged when I got this text. So my friend is always trying to like find guys to set me up with, which is so
So
appreciated
sweet.
and so nice. The only problem is he will fixate on like one thing that I say I'm looking for, and it's usually the most unimportant part of what I'm
Mm.
looking for, and totally disregard everything else. And
Ay, ay,
one of the biggest problems is we like cannot get on the same page about what my hashkafa is.
Oh
And
my
I've
God.
like said it.
That's a pretty big
Yeah,
deal when
I've
it comes to
said it.
setting you up.
I've said it in as clear of terms as I can to him. And like he still just can't get it through his head. So I think he sent me this guy. Yeah, he sent me this guy, and I was like, this guy looks yeshivish. Like, I don't think this is gonna work. I was like, why don't you go back to him and ask him? I'm like, ask him if he's okay with dating a girl who wears pants and doesn't want to cover her hair. And the
Right.
text that he got back, and he forwarded me the text,
Oh
and
no.
the guy was like, that's okay if that's where she is now, as long as she's gonna grow in the future, and as long
Oh
as
my
she would
God.
dress snazely for dates. I was like, F this guy, not a chance. Tell him to go
Oh.
hate women somewhere else.
Oh my God. And I think that's also a good point. And again, I'm sorry that we're doing so much criticism on men tonight. I gave some women criticism too. It's okay. I think that also like some is something that has thrown me off in the past of like seeing people's like bios or resume, whatever it is of like their preferences when they write things like that.
Oh, I don't like
Like
that.
people don't like
I
send
hate seeing
this to
age
your mother
preferences too.
first. Send this to your mother, your sister, a female that you have ever met before you publicly say this.
No, I
I
get the
also
biggest ick.
it's just like it's if you're saying like I prefer yeah, I don't know. Just it's not even worth saying you prefer someone who covers her whatever because other girls read are gonna read what you're putting out there and it just like it feels uncomfortable. So like it's something that you should say privately to your friend, right? You say privately to your friend, like if you're setting me up, just I only want to date women who wear dress XYZ. Fine, that's your prerogative. You know, you're maybe that's not maybe you could make better choices in your life and you could be more open minded. But like you know what, like it's your
It's fine.
prerogative.
I
Like
don't want to be with a guy who doesn't want to be with me and who doesn't
exactly,
respect my choice of what I
preach.
put on my body. But also, he's probably like not going to do the other things that I want to do. And like, we're not
Yeah.
in line hushcuffingly. Like, it's fine that we're not in line hushcuffingly. But I just get such an ick when I see on guys' profiles like what they're looking for, and
Mm-mm.
I will fought like it's bad because like almost everything they say gives me an ick. And it's just like
Yeah,
I find
I
every
want someone who's proud to be a wife and a mother.
yeah,
Like,
no, I'm like, oh, okay, so you oppress
so
women.
you want me to cook. That's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
exactly. He's like,
You
oh, I'm
want me to
looking for a
cook.
good cook, and I'm like, oh, I'm not cooking for you.
Like, I think I
Um,
would Dafka not cook for you if you're saying that you want. You know what I mean? But I
yeah,
think it's also it's like I think we do shame and I'm someone who's like quite liberal and I do think there is what to say about there we do a lot of shaming in our world of people who do want to live a more conservative lifestyle and people who do want to have more like nor like I guess 50s style whatever woman
I think
stays
it's
at
okay
home
when a
and
woman says it,
yeah
but
when a woman says it
when a man says it, I just assume he hates women.
when a man says it it just really narrows his dating pool it just like oh okay that's what you're looking for and I
I
you
just like
know
assume he's not going to respect me as like
yeah
and again, that could be
but it's also
totally
good
off
to be
base.
it's also really fine to be to want to be a wife and a mother. I want to be a wife and a mother, you know what I mean? But it's like to articulate that in a dating profile is a
Yeah.
bit like
Yeah, I
there are
also
other ways to frame it. There are other ways to say it that don't come off as misogynistic.
I heard something recently and it was like why do guys keep saying that they're looking for someone to be a wife and a mother? They should be saying I'm looking to be a husband and a father.
Fly. I've actually seen some guys maybe maybe it's only been on dates itself, but I feel like there are people who maybe yeah, maybe it's not a profile thing, but um there's definitely guys who want that. Um, they should do a better job at articulating that. But I think that but then it gets weird because then sometimes their profiles of like I want to be a stay-at-home dad, or
No, I don't want that either.
which is cute.
No,
But then
no.
that means that you want that might the implications that I'm reading into it is that oh you want you do not want to work and you want me to be the sole breadwinner. And I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Answer, I don't
I
feel
don't
good
want to
about that.
I don't want to support some
If
man.
we're rich, if you're like happen to be super, if he's super rich, but he doesn't need to work and he wants to be a stay-at-home dad, I actually don't, would I want that? I don't know, but
I don't
I'd
know.
have to, I'd have to,
I
I'd
have
have
to
to
take it
think
situation
about
by
it.
situation. It's funny because
That's
like
sticky.
one of my friends pointed this out. I get like I don't know, I was talking to this guy on a dating app and he was giving me such an ick. It was just like all he could do was talk about his family. And like I love my family, but I would
Yeah.
not say that family oriented, whatever the hell that means, is like number one on my list. Like I
Hmm.
love my family. I talk to my family. I live a couple states away from my family and
Mm.
I wouldn't say I base my whole life around my family. Like if something
Hmm.
happens, God forbid, I'm there. I visit my parents. My parents visit me. I call my parents. We text. Like I have a great relationship with my parents. I love my parents. But I just in general, I would not say my life is family oriented. Because if I was
Hmm.
family oriented, I would be living in the state that my parents live in.
I don't
Like,
know if that's true. I think it's a state of mind. No,
I
it's
don't know.
like, or like you get people who live across the ocean and call them every day. Like I don't call
I
my
don't call
family
my
every
parents
single
every
day.
day.
Yeah, same. But I
I
think
don't like talking on the
I still
phone.
view myself as family oriented and like like close with my cousins, extended family,
I
etc.
just,
Even though I don't talk to them every day, I still like view that closeness.
yeah, like I view myself as being close with my parents. I don't know if I consider myself family oriented.
Hmm.
Um, just because I don't let my family control my life. Like, not control. My
Yeah.
parents are not controlling at all. My
No, but
parents are like the
there are
chillest
people that
people.
are like that. There are people that are like that.
But I don't base my life decisions around my family. And it kind of gives me the ick when guys do. Like, the guys who are maybe this could just be for me. I'm a non-New York, New Jersey person. I when I talk to a guy who literally grew up in New Jersey and doesn't want to live anywhere else because he cannot be like more than a 10-minute drive from his mom, like that gives me the ick.
Yeah,
Like I want
there's a
someone.
certain there's just it's like being a mama's boy can be cute, but if like she's cooking and doing your laundry for you and like you
No,
can't
that's
take
too
care of yourself,
much.
then like
Like
that's a little too oriented.
I want someone more open-minded. It's like, okay, like let's go find a community that fits us where we're going to
Yeah,
be the happiest, not just because our parents are here. Like, yes, it would be so nice to raise children near my parents
of
where they could come and help,
course.
but like that's not how I'm basing my decision of where I want to live. And yeah, I don't know. I think I want to be a mom. I think I want to have kids. Sometimes I doubt that, but like I think at the end of the day, I do
Tea.
want. Well, kids are just annoying and they're hard and like I don't know. Like it's a big toll on your
It's
body.
big,
Like
yeah.
I'm gonna do
It's
an episode
expensive.
when I'm gonna do an episode when I actually like go through with it. Not go through with it when I actually like have everything done. But like I'm right now like try in the not really in the process yet, but ish in the process of freezing my eggs.
I have
And
a friend
like
who's doing that.
yeah, and it's just like all this fertility stuff, it's a lot and pregnancy is
Stressful.
really hard and I don't know, I it's really bad because I really do hope that at this point in my life when I do get married, I marry a good guy who's going to be a good partner and a good and if we have children, going to be a good father and is there. But I read so many okay. The only thing I use Facebook for is reading Jewish women's group posts and
Love
like
those. I live for
and
the drama.
are we dating the same guy in New York City? And
I need to join. I've like invest whatever. I have stories of other
no,
you can
it's
learn a lot
so good.
in
I love
criminal
reading it.
investigations from those things. Let's
I
put it
love
that
reading
way.
it. I have seen guys that I know posted. I've seen guys that
Oh
I've
my
gone out
God.
with posted and I'm like, "Wow, this is tea." But I'm not going to share that. That's against all the rules. But it's like
True.
I do like reading those, but my I like reading the Jewish women's groups. A lot of the problems I can't relate to, but a lot of them are just talking about how they married someone and they're such a like a bad husband and father. And I can't
Yeah, I've
imagine.
seen those too. And like the from girl problems and the Jewish women
Yeah,
talk about
and
anything.
I just can't imagine bringing a child into this world and having to basically do it by myself with a terrible partner. Like if I'm ready to meet the guy who makes me want to have kids with him. Like I don't want to raise a kid alone. So like why if I
Sounds
don't want
very
to raise a
difficult.
if I don't want to raise a kid alone by myself, like why would I want to do that by myself in a marriage? Like that sounds harder.
Yeah, but I don't think you would ever settle to be with someone
No, I hope not.
who would make you feel that way. And I also think, but I also, it does scare me a little bit when you hear these stories of like, oh, he was so great when I married him, but
Mhm.
then he became a total horrible individual. But I think that, yeah, I think it's hard, and I think that's a good. You don't want to be like alone in a marriage. That's a really profound line. I think alone in relationships too. Like really, there's like a saying or something that like relationships are like the loneliest experience because it's like I think kind of back to more from like an existential place as opposed to like feeling lonely. Because like if you're in a relationship, like hopefully you enjoy spending time with that person. Um, but I think from the idea, kind of like what we were saying before of how there's no rules of dating, I think
Mhm.
what's one of the hardest parts about the dating marriage world is, you know, there's this idea that like God created each individual as their own world, as their own person, their own uniqueness. And then to take two very unique worlds and try to merge them is like so not only impossible, but it's a very difficult experience. And there's no, just like you're a unique person and the guy's a unique person, to try to merge two unique people is a unique experience within itself. So nobody else will ever experience what you are going through in your own relationship. You could have advice, you could have this and that, you have friends who've had similar experiences, but nobody will ever go through the exact same experience that you are, and that is lonely. And that is where things feel like, holy moly, what am I doing? In good and bad, in any relationship. And that's
Yeah.
where I think a lot of what it comes down to is this, like, that's where the self-worth comes in and this autonomy and this idea of needing to know who you are and needing to be in the right place to date and needing to be, you know, to find that inner peace before you could really do that. And I see people get lost in relationships a lot, and it's really, really sad. And I think like what my hope is for you, and I know I say this for both you and me, but knowing both you and me, I know this will never happen to us, is may you never lose your sparkle. Right? Like
Amen.
I've seen people lose their sparkle, and it's the saddest thing. It's really so sad, but we don't have to be sad because we could think about people whose sparkles shine even brighter and bring out
Yeah.
each other's sparkles and bring out I've seen people bring out sparkles in others and make them better people, quote unquote, whatever that means. But like bring out the best in each other. And I like I think those are good relationship models to follow.
Yeah, I totally agree. Before we continue, let's take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors, and we will be right back.
Sticky Situations is sponsored by Corona Crush. Are you tired of swiping on dating apps? Tired of guessing whether the cute guy or girl you keep seeing around is Jewish and or single? Then you need to run, not walk to join Corona Crush. Corona Crush is a Jewish organization working to create Jewish couples always. Corona Crush has over 30 confirmed engagements, over 22,000 members from all over the world, and has set up over 50,000 speed dates. Join the Corona Crush Facebook group and post yourself or have a friend post you and see who reaches out. Fill out the survey to sign up for virtual speed dating events happening every other week. Corona Crush is 100% free and 100% Jewish. Worst case, you end up with some stories of your own. Best case, you find the love of your life. Try it out today. Here on Sticky Situations, we tend to focus on bad dating stories, but sometimes dates do go well and lead to proposals and weddings. Who would have thought? And what do all of those require, you might be asking? Well, the answer is flowers. Who doesn't want flowers from someone they've been seeing? Don't forget, flower petals and bouquets needed for proposals. And that's even before all the flowers that go into weddings. Sticky Situations is sponsored by Primrose Flower Shop. In my opinion, Primrose is the coolest flower shop around and has the best customer service to fulfill all of your floral needs. Primrose offers a range of services from your basic bouquets to subscription services where you can get flowers delivered once a week. They deliver all over the tri state area, including Manhattan. Primrose does weddings, bar and bat mitzvahs, and other simchas. I've personally been to a wedding where Primrose did the flowers, and the work they did was beyond gorgeous. Primrose additionally offers in store proposals, including a romantic setup with candles and music. Primrose is located at 2922 Avenue M in Brooklyn, and the phone number is 929 376 9815. You can also follow Primrose on Instagram at PrimroseNY. So, if you can't get someone out of your head, buy them some flowers from Primrose. They'll either love it or they'll find you really creepy. But regardless, the flowers will be out of this world.
Okay, we're back, everybody. Okay, yeah. No, I 100% agree about the people getting lost in relationships and people getting their sparkle dulled. But and also good relationships where it brings out your sparkle. And I think it is important when you're looking for a partner, not like don't if you find someone that brings you down, like it's not the right thing. And I think that's true in
Yeah.
friendships. It's true in
Mm,
any type of relationship. I don't know. I can't really say that I've had it in relationships where somebody's like dulled my sparkle, but I've seen it in my own friendships. Like certain people you're friends with, and you can tell
100%.
that they just like bring you down. And then other
Mm-hmm.
people, it's like, oh no, this is such a fun friendship because we're just like totally purely ourselves and we let the other person be that and bring out like the silly, goofy, fun side of us, but also like can still be real, you know?
Totally, totally. And then there's the relationships that drain you, right? Where it's not even about the
Oh
sparkle,
yeah.
but it's about like you needing to be there for that person just constantly going through a crisis and not taking care of themselves, and then you feeling the need to constantly be there to help them back up, but then also having experienced that, also then feeling your own insecurity of like, oh my God, am I too much, right? Like, am I that burden for someone else? And it's like so scary. Friendships, relationships, it's all so hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
That's
think,
why
what if we were all just monks and we just like lived in caves and like just
I
tuned
don't
out the
think we would
world?
be happy.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think like we need that. I don't know. Also, I think that's why it's important to have like a therapist because you can
100%.
always talk to your therapist about bad stuff. That's their job is to be there
Literally.
to listen to you complain about things and to help you through crises and help you through like bad stuff. Like it is good to have friends that you can lean on, but also like make sure that you're not like burdening your friends or your
100%. And yeah,
partner.
partner. Oh, I think that's the biggest thing. Ooh, this is a good topic. The I can fix him mentality, right? Like there's the idea that the dangerous, I should say, I can fix him mentality, or her, or whatever. Because I think, there's this idea that, you know, I think it's Esther Perel talks about it. She's an awesome, another therapist, really cool. She highly recommend listening to her stuff. I could find the clip, but she talks about how like in the 21st century, we kind of have evolved and think of our partners as having to fulfill every one of our needs. So they're like your lover, your best friend, your therapist, your mom, your dad, like they're all these things, and like you can't let that happen. Like they need you a one person cannot fill all those different roles in your life, and you need to
No.
outsource. And like I think that similarly with friends and people you date, like they are not your therapist and you are not their therapist. You can be there for them, you can give advice, but it is not your job to make them make healthy choices, and it's not their job. It's part of the relationship is to listen, obviously, but it's not their job to carry that weight. And I guess that's kind of the where the I can fix it mentality comes. So many friends, myself included, we've all tried, we've all been there of like, like maybe if he just like reads this one book, or maybe if he just like listens to this one podcast, or maybe if he just takes this one piece of advice, like it'll be fine and he'll get better and like it'll work. And
No.
no, No, it's bad for two reasons. Because one, it's the idea that, a person can change for based on just, opening their eyes to one thing that you do. The other thing is turning you into a control freak and making you very controlling, and that's a very unhealthy way of being in a relationship. And then you see people, I don't know if I really like the word settle, but you see people end up in relationships where one person is clearly more mature than the other, regardless of gender. And you're like, okay, hello. You can't force someone, you can never force someone to grow. You can never force someone to grow. That is something they have to do themselves. And seen it time and time again where people just, think they can fix it and they can't.
Yeah, 100% agree. I yeah, I'm not I don't think I've ever tried to like date someone who I want to fix, but I definitely have guy friends who I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is what you
Mm.
need to do to fix yourself." But no, I am retired from that game. I don't want to fix anyone. I think everyone's responsible for themselves. And if
Yeah,
somebody
true.
isn't in a good place to date, like it's not the right time. They're not for me. Like it's either not the right person or not the right time for them. And it's like I'm not here to try to fix someone. Like I'm working on myself and that's a big enough job. And like everyone should constantly
So
be working on
true.
themselves. And
You should trademark that. I'm working on myself. That's a big enough job. True. I love it. Put it on a t-shirt. It literally is, by the way. Like it's like we don't and and then it also creates a level of hubris of like, oh, I think I know better. I think I know how to fix this person. Like, no,
no, you
you
don't.
don't. Maybe they are working on themselves. You don't know. And again, it's not just dating related. It's like you're saying, friendships too. I even have female friends where I'm like, oh my God, this person can save their own life if they do XYZ, but Sarah, it's not your problem. This is
Yeah.
not my circus, not my monkeys.
Yes.
This, you could be there for a friend, but there's only so much that you can do on your own. And it's hard because when you feel like like you're a go-getter and you're empowered and you have to like help change the world, but like you can't force someone to want to change.
No, I totally agree. Sarah, do you have any other stories that you want to tell?
Um, I feel like I shared a nice amount, but if there's other, do you have a specific prompt? Because I could try to think of other stories if we want.
Um, do you have like a worst date story that you would want to share?
I have a funny one.
Okay.
I was once on a date with a guy, and he had a flip phone, but he wasn't Yeshivish. He just had a flip phone because he wanted one. But like you could already tell he was like a little bit more in that world, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And on the date, and it's so great telling the story because I know he's never gonna listen to this. And I'm also happy he's engaged. He got engaged recently, so happy for him. Not to me,
Oh, Muscle
obviously,
Tove.
but he has a flip phone, and we were on a date, and in walking like randomly in Midtown. And all of a sudden, we run into like Sarah Jessica Parker, who's filming the Sex and the City sequel, and just like that. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I'm not like I actually at that point I hadn't really watched the show. I just know like the lore, and of course
Yeah.
I know the lore. And then and also like she's super cool, famous person. I was like, oh my God, could we like stand and like watch like the filming? And then he was like, yeah, of course, sure, why not? And he was afterwards, he's like, oh, who is that? I was like, Sarah Jessica Parker. I had to like explain to this like flip phone boy, which is the name we lovingly call him between my friends and I had to explain what Sex and the City was. And that was definitely an experience. I will say, the way I'm talking about this makes it sound like I talk to my friends about every single date I go on. I do not. I save the good stories. But I think it's also a good question, right? Like, how much about dating do you talk about with friends? I've had situations where like I've spoken too much about it with friends and then it ends up clouding my own judgment and like word gets out when I don't want it to get out. And like that's been something like I've learned my lessons of. But then like kind of back to the point that we were talking about earlier of like when you think so highly of your friends or when they think so highly of you that like neither is like necessarily a good sounding board, that you feel like you don't want to share anything. And then it's like you might be missing out on some red flags or yellow flags because you hadn't used your friends as a sounding board, but you also are trying not to like come off as too, obsessed or too like, you know that they're gonna be like, you deserve better, and you don't want to hear that. So,
Yeah, I probably say too much about too many things and too many guys, and I'm probably going to be in trouble. Okay, so Sarah, before we get into our wrap up segment, is there anything else, any other stories, insights, ideas that you would like to share?
hmm. Any other insights? I think, right, we touched upon, oh, we didn't even really fully dig into the texting as the facade of emotional intimacy. We were more just talking about the like beginning stages. But I do think it is good to just reiterate that like when you're texting someone, and maybe it's good for long distance, that honestly sounds like a good thing, but like if you're not really talking to them and you're just like in the tech, like if you just treat your whole relationship like a texting phase, then like that's not, you feel close to this person, you feel like you know them, but you don't really know them. And like you need to spend more time, whether that's on a phone call, FaceTime, if you're in a long distance situation, or in-person dates, right? Like you need to actually try to get to know them, because then, there's people who are really witty and
Mhm.
flirty over text, and then in person are just there's no chemistry and there's no vibe. And texting could be an easy way for people to get into it, right? Of like, oh, this is like a low stakes endeavor for me to like try out my flirty lines, but we also need to see how it is in person. So that's like my always my advice. And then so there's that. There's the I feel like we hit a lot of it. When it comes, the number one rule of dating is that there's no rules, and that it's a lonely experience to try to you are so unique, and whoever you date is also unique, so your dating experience is unique, and it's a lonely experience. But if anything, it takes a little bit, it makes me feel less stressed knowing that like we're all just kind of winging it, not just in
Mhm.
dating, but in adult life in general, of like we're all
Yeah.
just trying our best, doing our own thing, and there's no rules, which is scary because I'm a very rule-oriented person, but like then it also feels like, hey, like there's not much to like mess up if like we're all in the same boat, and that like there's no guy that's more experienced than you per se, or you're not more experienced than another person. It's like we're all figuring this out for the first time together.
Yeah.
Even if you've
And
been on
also,
3 million dates, even if you've been on 3 million dates, you're not it's a new
yeah.
situation. Each situation is its own situation. You don't, even like married people, giving unsolicited advice, which sometimes I appreciate married people's advice and whatnot, but sometimes they think as if they wrote the Bible themselves, and it's like, you, sir, you've dated three people in your life and you married one of them. Like you
Yeah.
really don't know the full experience, or you were barely single, or whatever it was. And I think it's just that humble reminder that we don't know everything, and also that like that reassurance that we don't know everything. It's like an interesting balance there.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point because people, I do it also. It's like, okay, I have this relationship experience, I have this dating experience. That doesn't mean anything. Like any new situation, like you said, is a new situation. And I always hate it. And I've talked about this so many times. I find it so patronizing when anyone, even my friends, like, okay, I'm 31. I have I have friends who have gotten married at every single life stage.
Yeah.
Like, I have friends who got married in college. I have friends who got married in our late 20s. I have friends who got married like in their 30s. And it's just like to me, I have a couple friends who got married like in their late 20s, mid to late 20s. And they're like, "Oh yeah, I know how hard it was and all this and that." I'm like, "Okay, but you got married at 28. Like dating
Yeah.
at 28 is not the same as dating at 31."
It's
Like
not.
you can't relate to me. Like I so appreciate they're trying to relate to me, but you can't. Like,
Yeah.
and I have other friends who just like validate my complaints and they're like, "No, it's whatever's going to happen is going to happen." And it's like I like that better. They just let me complain and
Yeah.
they don't even try. They don't try. They don't try to be like, "Oh, I totally get it. It was so hard." Maybe like occasionally I mentioned like, "Oh, I was doing like a speed dating thing." And my friend was like, "Oh, actually, yeah, you never know. Like that's how I met my husband." But like that friend, she never like gives unsolicited advice, and it's so
Yeah, and
appreciated.
that's like a it could be like an annoying thing to hear, but it's also like maybe trying to be reassuring. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, when she said that, it was like more reassuring. I didn't feel patronized by it. But other friends that I talk to that are like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, I understand. I know how hard it was. Like, no, you don't.
you
You
don't.
don't understand. You're not in my life stage. Like my single friends and I can relate right now to certain things, but like, yeah, everybody's different. But also like even my single friends, we all have our own struggles when it comes to dating.
For sure.
And yeah, I was at a Shabbat. I'll leave this before we get to our closing segment. I was at a Shabbat meal and it was all girls, so we were talking about dating. And this one girl, just first of all, I think she was like 22, which again, your age is
Wait,
whatever.
I think I know this. Okay, I'll tell
You
we'll
might have been
discuss
at the
after.
meal. You might have been
No,
at
but
the
I
meal.
think I know this story because I think a different person has told me this exact story, but please share. That was at the
She,
meal to this one.
she just like started complaining about like all of these things. Like I don't even remember her reasoning. Like she was like, "Oh, I'm bald shuva or something, and nobody in my community sets me up. None of my friends' parents set me up." And I turned to my other friend. I'm like, "Literally, none of my parents' friends have ever set me up." Like,
Yeah, what?
and it's just like she's just complaining, and she's like, "This is why I'm still single." I'm like, "Girl, you got a long road ahead of you. It only gets worse." Like, I'm just saying, like everybody has their struggle in dating or they don't and they're fine with it. But like everyone has their struggle. It's different for everyone. Like, yeah, we can be compassionate towards other people, but like at the end of the day, just realize that other people also have it bad and some people have it worse. And like we
Yeah,
just have to like own our own experiences and make the best of it. And I don't know, I've really been trying to have a positive mentality about everything.
that's good.
Starting in
Growth
2020,
mindset, as they say.
yeah, I started in 20 I realized in 2024 I just had a really sucky mindset about everything
Hmm.
and the year ended and I was just like, yeah, it's been such a bad year. And I was talking to one of my friends and I said that and she's like, what was bad about it? And she just starts listing all of these good things that happened. And I was like, wait,
Damn.
you're actually so right. Like I'm depressed about being single, but literally every other aspect of my life aside from like the world of the Jews, like that was a bad year for
True, true,
2024 was a
true.
bad year for the Jews. But like aside from
Indeed.
that, in the personal life of Rachel, like okay, yeah, I was single and I didn't have luck dating, but everything else about my life was good. Every other
Thank God.
aspect was good. Thank God. So for 2025, that really like opened my eyes and I'm like, okay, for 2025, I'm really just going to try to have a more positive outlook about it because when you keep saying like, yeah, I'm going to be single forever, there's nobody out there for me. All the guys hate me. Like it's you're just like talking it into the universe.
Yeah.
And when you have a positive mentality and it's just like, okay, this didn't work out, but this wasn't right for me. Like he's not my
It just
person.
doesn't help your own mental health. It really just
Yeah.
doesn't, and it doesn't help anyone. It makes everyone else around you. It sucks the energy out of everyone around you. Like that story that you were saying is just like it's obviously valid to complain and like people should feel entitled to their own emotions, etc. But like to kind of center it around your own experiences and that like that's the way that the world is, like that's just a very unhealthy attitude.
Hmm.
And it's important to remember that other people are going through other struggles, but also that like focusing on the negative isn't gonna help.
Yeah,
No,
exactly. So I think it's important to like put your astrolute in, do your work,
for sure.
try, put yourself out there. But at the end of the day, if something doesn't happen, it's just like that's not what's supposed to happen. That person is
True.
not your person. That's not the avenue. That's not the right thing. Or like maybe something else
And
will
it sucks
happen.
to hear it. It
Yeah,
sucks to hear it, but it's
yeah, it
sometimes you
sucks.
need to hear it.
Or like it's not this isn't what's happening right now. Like
Yeah.
sometimes that's what it is. This isn't what's happening right now. And sometimes it might never happen. Sometimes it's just not right now. But like that's not what was supposed to happen, so it didn't happen. And you just have to
Yeah.
keep going and believing that whatever is supposed to happen is going to happen. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, okay, so Sarah, let's move into our closing segment. We've
Ooh.
given a lot of advice over the course of the episode, but can you give me and my listeners one piece of dating advice?
One piece of dating advice. Yeah, we have given a lot of advice. It's hard to choose just one. I think it's, I think, so much. I want to combine it all into one. But I think it's the not being so hard on yourself and giving yourself grace is so important. And especially if you're feeling that, like I'm not really in the mood to go on a date, but I should still go on one anyway. Like if you're really not doing okay, if you're having, God forbid, family issues, mental health issues, whatever it is, you need to take care of yourself, or else you won't be able to give your full self in whatever relationship you may end up in. So it's really important to take care of yourself and not to view your mistakes as inherent flaws within yourself, right? That like maybe you're not getting set up, maybe you're not whatever. Like that doesn't mean something's wrong with you. That means that there there are ways to take accountability, but you also need to remember that some things are just beyond your control.
I like it. It's good advice.
Thank you. Thank you.
And last but not least, Sarah, what is your tagline?
Be the chaos you wish to see in the world.
I love it. I love
It's
chaos.
it's my go-to. It's you it's like it's a relook at Gandhi. It's a remix of Gandhi. Like be the change you wish to see in the world, but the
I love it.
chaos because you gotta be a little chaotic if you want to get things done, if I'm being fully honest.
Exactly. No, agreed. No, nothing. There's a
Sure.
lot. I can't remember the quote, but it's like, yeah, you need to be chaotic sometimes. But
100%.
yeah, I like it.
Maybe
Well,
all the time. Maybe not all the time.
maybe not all
Depends.
the time. It's okay to be chill
Read the room.
sometimes.
Read the room. Read the room.
Yeah. Yes, that's a good call. Well, Sarah, this has been so fun. Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course.
And Sticky Situation Nation, you'll catch me next time. Bye, everybody.